You're listening to the B&H Photography Podcast. For over 40 years, B&H has been the professional source for photography, video, audio, and more. For your favorite gear, news, and reviews, visit us at bnh.com or download the B&H app to your iPhone or Android device. Now here's your host, Alan Weitz.
Greetings and welcome to the B&H Photography Podcast. Today we welcome W.M. Hunt to the program. Bill is a photography curator as well as an author and an educator, but primarily he is a collector. In fact, 126 of his photographs, which are curated into the collection The Unseen Eye Photographs from the W.M. Hunt Collection, are up for sale this week at Christies auction house. Bill has also been a gallery owner, and he has served on the board of prestigious organizations, including the W. Eugene Smith Memorial Fund. He's written monographs and articles on photographers too numerous to list and has judged photography competitions throughout the world. Bill's collection represents a wide swath of photo history, Avedon to Arbus, Ouija to Walker Evans, and it's been fascinating to preview the work this week. We're actually recording this episode before the auction, and we'll publish the episode just as the auction is wrapping up. But Bill was kind enough to speak with us about collecting some of the incredible images he owns and his hopes for the auction. Check the links in our show notes to the auction itself at Christie's and to Bill's website, which we'll have during the show. Welcome to the show, sir. We've been looking forward to talking to you about all these pictures you've got.
Thanks for the invite.
It's just great to have you. Now, you said that, and I'm quoting you, photography changed your life, changed my life. It gave you one. That's an interesting statement, that photography gave you a life. Tell us how you first got into photography, and did this love for the medium include picking up a camera? You know, what happened?
What a reasonable question.
We're reasonable people here. You know, we told you up front.
Okay. So when I teach a lot of workshops, and one of the things I say is that one of the things that separates photography from other art forms is that everybody's really an expert on photography because they've seen millions of photographs. You know the good ones from the bad ones. You may not be able to articulate it, but you know the paper comes in the morning, you look at it and you go like, oh, that's a good picture. So it's a visual language that we all speak or have the experience of. So I'm walking through the culture, and for some reason that I don't think I've ever been able to articulate, and I really have thought about it, what I say is I say the voices. I heard the voices, and the voices said, go buy a photograph. I went to an auction, because I had this idea that I wanted to buy a certain kind of photograph. I wanted to find a romantic photograph of a woman who was somehow veiled. At least this is how I've reconstructed the memory of it. So I went to Christies, and I really didn't have any money in the world. And I was sitting there and looking at somebody else's catalog because I literally didn't have enough money to buy a catalog. I didn't know you could go beforehand and look at the pictures. And I could see in this guy's catalog that there was an Imogen Cunningham coming up. The picture came up. They showed it, not even a slide. They just showed the print. And I'm looking across the room and I went, yeah, that's what that's what I'm thinking of. And I think the price was about $325, which I did not have. And I put my hand up in the air. This is really a long time ago because you didn't register beforehand. They came running over to you with an index card that you filled out, indicating your willingness to buy this thing. I bought it. Then I had no idea where you pay for it. They do help you there. They show you the teller's window where you buy the picture. I bought it. I found the money, bought the picture, took it home, and sat there and went like, what have you done? You've bought this picture. And I thought, well, that was an intense experience. So I went out to some galleries. There were probably about 4 galleries then that showed photography. And I did it again. I bought a couple more pictures. And I pretty much always maxed out whatever extra money I had. And in the early days of collecting, when I was just going by my instinct, by my guts, I never made a mistake. I bought great, weird stuff. And I will say that the idea that I was going to buy what I now describe as magical, heart-stopping images of people in which you don't see their eyes, that idea was there really early on, and I pretty much stuck to it. I found the experience to be exhilarating, to like spend this money that I really didn't have on these pieces of paper that were magic to me. And I didn't know anybody else who did anything like this. And it seemed completely mad. It really was. It was totally insane and really fun. And when I say that photography gave me a life, I found it to be completely a joyful place to dance around the fire. My friends are many of them are in the photo world. I ultimately became a dealer after enough time. A dealer is actually a collector who's just looking for a better discount. So I'm off on this little mad search for photographs, and you go to galleries and you go to museums and stuff. I had this experience. I walked in the Museum of Modern Art after I'd been collecting for 5-6 years. And early on, I wasn't buying much stuff because I didn't have money. But I walked into the Museum of Modern Art, and they had rehung what they called the Steichen galleries. And there was this Irving Penn print on the wall, picture of his wife lying on a bed. And it was the same print that I owned at home. And this was like mind-blowing to me that you would walk into a major museum and you would both own the same thing. The real weird irony of this is I really have never gotten rid of pictures over the years, except I did get rid of that one.
You said you walked in and these pictures are talking to you and you've just been making good calls. And you keep referring to the fact that, you can't justify because you just don't even have the money. My guess is you did not have blank white walls before this revelation.
I would say that it was a real white box with lots of light.
Okay.
Lots of daylight because it had windows for days. And it was, all there was me, the apartment, the dogs, and pictures. So the pictures lived on the floor most of the time, just propped up against the wall. It was like I didn't want to commit to actually putting hooks on the wall. And there's a collector is somebody who buys a picture and then goes home and has to take a picture down to put the new one up. And so to avoid that, I just kept them all on the floor. And they look like record albums. You remember record albums?
Oh, yeah.
They'd be stacked 2-3 deep, and that was a way to look at the pictures. There's a funny thing about collectors because collectors, this is creepy, but you really don't need to have them out. You just need to know that you've got them. It's completely covetous and shallow and intense.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
That's the deal, man. It's you got them home in the box, or you're not in the box, but you don't physically have to walk into the magnificent gallery-like space that we call home. That's not it, man. That's just not it. So you walk into my studio, and there's shelves of pictures, and it's great. It's this real. It's my little shoebox that's lined with all this cool stuff that's meaningful to me.
I love some of the stuff that I've saved and collected over the years, and they're not out on the walls, but they're somewhere. But when then you go back to them and you look at it, and it's almost like a rediscovery of it because it isn't out on the wall; it's someplace else, and that to me that's always a joy because sometimes I do forget some of the stuff that I have.
So I started a project during this pandemic that I'm liking a lot, and the inspiration for this project, which will be a book, hopefully it'll sort of roll out on Instagram. This is my big design. If I can only figure out how to.
What's your Instagram, real quick? Is it
WM Hunt D Bear?
Okay. All right,
so the Instagram account right now is all pictures of American groups before 1950, which is the second collection. That started really about 10, 15 years ago. But I teach this class on how to look at pictures. How I look at photographs is what it's called. And the inspiration for this class was I saw a photograph one day in the New York Times magazine and by Matthew Pillsbury, and it was a photograph that had really nothing to do with my collecting, but I thought, this is a great photograph. And I called Matthew up and I said, good for you, man. This is a great photograph. You've really raised the bar on what you've been doing. And I just wanted to reach out and tell you that I thought it was terrific. Keep up the good work. And you do find out that people don't call photographers and say, like, that's a great picture. They just, they don't give you, they don't offer, you don't get offered up the affirmation like they should. Anyway, so I took that picture and I put it on my desktop of my computer. And then I realized that I could collect images that way. I could just put them on my desktop. So I started a folder called Great Photographs. And sometimes the photographs are ones that I've collected. And very often they have nothing to do with what I've collected. They have to do with my taste, my sensibility, the sort of delirious joy I bring to looking. And that became the spine of a workshop that I teach about people trying to intensify how they look, to bring more energy to it, more
engagement, right?
Yeah. To really, I'll jump to a different place. I get asked a question I like to get asked lately is how has it changed for you as a collector? And one of the things that's changed is that I know like way too much stuff now. And it's really hard to go into a room naked, to show up with just you and all your like nerve endings raw and ready to go, and like just show it to me, man, show it to me. To sort of paddle back to my early primitive state when I didn't know anything, when I just would walk in and go like, oh, me like a good, wrap up.
Here's money.
Here, good. And that's really hard. That's hard to do. It's hard to not be sophisticated about stuff. And I really encourage it. I like walking around when people, if they're just shut up about it. I like when they don't know anything. Just tell me what you respond to. And I'll complain about something that, the world is full of good photographs. Your iPhone makes good photographs. There are like gazillions of good photographs. They do not interest me. I'm really interested in the great ones, the ones that fill you up and make you crazy. So that's what I encourage in this workshop is figure out what your taste is, let it go, let it show up, man, and be available to the experience of it. It's, when you walk around some exhibition or something with a friend and the friend goes like, oh, that's a good painting. And you go, yeah, it is a good painting. Yeah, that's another good painting. I so don't want to talk about it. Show me the one that's just going to that's just going to hit me in the guts.
Right.
The last photograph in the collection of the magical heart-stopping photographs of people in which you don't see their eyes, which is how I describe the collection.
I just wanted to kind of clarify the fact that the collection we're speaking about is The Unseen Eye, and it is something that you've been putting together, or it's a curated selection from your greater collection, is the way I understand it.
You understand it correctly.
Okay.
The collection is actually called Collection Dancing Bear, because I'm all about naming things for just to distract people. The title of it is The Unseen Eye, Photographs of the Unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
I always laugh at the subtitle because the publisher made that up. I just think it sounds like a Star Trek picture or something. Anyway.
But it is photos where the eyes are obscured or the eyes are closed. I mean, there is that theme that runs through this series. And
it's all about the enigma.
Uh-huh. And when in your collecting process did you get to this as a theme or as a thing that you're interested in? Did it start with that Imogen Cunningham photo? Yeah.
I think that was always the idea. It took me a while to actually cop to it and say like, oh, this is what you're looking for. This is what you're looking at. It was always revealing of dealers if they understood it or not. Because dealers who didn't understand it would show me pictures of people with masks on and whatever, and they took it quite literally. And the thing that I was interested in, the idea that a photograph can be incomplete in terms of the information. You don't need to know why somebody has their eyes closed. Is it pleasure? Is it pain? Is it what's going on? Or what do you think is going on? If you, as the viewer, complete the meaning of the picture, then it can be very intense and powerful and personal.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. We come back more with Bill Hunt. Stay tuned.
We hope you're enjoying this edition of the B&H Photography Podcast. The best way to support the show is by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. For links to gear and more information on today's guests, check out the show notes in your podcast app or visit our homepage on the B&H Explorer website and join the B&H Photography Podcast Facebook group. And now, back to the show.
I listened to you describing what makes a good photograph. You even teach classes on how to see, essentially. And you understand the dynamics of what makes a good composition, good photograph. Are you able to translate that yourself with a camera? Do you take pictures? And if you do, how do you feel about your own pictures? Are you satisfied with them? Are you able to achieve what you look for in good photographs, good art? Are you able to take that same thing and apply it yourself?
I'm not interested in it. So the photographs that I make, if you were to open up my phone, the funniest thing you would discover is that I take pictures of wall labels. I use it as a way of taking notes. And I take pictures of pictures. The pictures I make, I'm not interested in keeping some sort of diary of what I ate, who I hung out with. It's just not, no offense to whoever, but it's just not interesting to me. So you do it.
I'm on board with you about that. But the thing is, do you ever see things that make you just want to take a picture and say, I love that. Look at that composition. Look at that light. Look at something. In other words, when you look at a photograph, it triggers you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll tell you the thing I look at in my apartment. When I'm in bed, I can see this white wall that is next to a window, and the light comes in. It's a combination of reflected light and street light, and it changes, and it's like abstract, and I like looking at that. And I don't need a photograph of it. Years ago, when I was still being an actor, I was doing a show at the Goodspeed Opera House in Connecticut. And on matinee days, I'd be in the wings, and there was this completely strange thing that I couldn't figure out what it was. And on the wall, it looked like someone was playing an 8mm movie upside down. And I'd go up and I'd look at this flickering black and white, seemingly black and white thing, and I'd go like, what the hell is this? This is so weird. And then I realized that there was a hole in the wall to the outside.
It was a camera obscura.
Camera obscura showing the Connecticut River in this little thumbnail video on the wall, projection on the wall. And it got to the point where I would go up way before I had to be in the wings to watch my movie, and it was only on, obviously in the daytime when there was enough light. But I thought, wow, this is so photographic. When I talk about the history of photography, the picture that I show as the first photograph is this now, it doesn't exist anymore, but in New Mexico, there was a Native American stone sculpture that was a hole in some rock outcropping. And the two equinoxes of the year, the sun would line up perfectly, and you would get some like Indiana Jones thing on the floor of the canyon floor. So this is light. They're attempting to capture light for an instant in time. They're not capturing it on paper or anything like a photograph, but it was a kind of writing with light. And I like that idea. So my working definition of photography is that photography is light captured as if by magic. And I'm all in love with the magic part of it. I think that's just great.
Interesting.
I'm sure you had a question at the beginning of that, but I have no idea what it was.
But it was a great answer regardless.
There you go. Pick any part of it, and you can just slice through it.
By the way, you did remind me of one thing that at Moore College of Art in Philadelphia, years ago, the photo studio was the top floor, and it was originally a painting studio that was all glass embanked, was North Light, and they painted it over black when they turned it into a photo studio, and somebody also etched a little hole the size of a quarter into it. And when you came in on a bright sunny day and you sat in this room with the lights off, you'd look at the opposite wall, and it was Logan Square upside down and backwards, and you'd watch the traffic and the kids going. And there was something so magical about a camera obscura that it is pure photography.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the idea too that, so a thing that happened along my photographic journey is somehow I ended up teaching the history of photography at the School of Visual Arts for, I don't know. So I taught at SVA as an adjunct for years. And the first part of it was teaching the history of photography. So you might well ask, how did I know anything about the history of photography? I didn't. I was about 5 minutes ahead of the students, but I was 5 minutes ahead of them. And, after you've done it a couple of years, you figure out how to do it. This is back when you had slides, and slides were really, that created a whole level that was not very likable. But you think about Daguerre, and Daguerre started out in the theater with these dioramas and offering these tours of Paris at night, told through light and shadow. And then the idea that the next step in the Daguerre history is that he's capturing these in daguerreotype form. But I I like that journey that he's going from 3D experiential things to these 2D.
And how important is it to be able to describe photographers' work and to, you mentioned also to talk, and with Pillsbury, I believe, with talking to the photographer, how important to your collecting is getting to know the artists themselves?
And here's some things about that. When I talk to photographers, I think that it's when I used to talk to students, because after I taught history, I taught a different kind of class, which was really about seeing and about talking. And the thing that I would beat my students into submission on this was I wanted them to be able to talk about what they saw, what they were doing. If you could put together 3 decent, clear sentences about what your practice was attempting to do, you could actually communicate with other people. And the idea that a photographer says, like, oh, I don't know, I'm just like, oh, it's fine. I respect that, but I can't talk to you because you're not making the effort to be articulate. And I do think that it's really valuable for a collector, for an artist, anyone in this cultured world. If you can be clear, it really helps. It gets to a point where it's inexcusable for artists. When I was a dealer for many years, sometimes you would send an artist, say, to go in to talk to a photo editor. And the pictures, sometimes the pictures are plenty. The editor says, I get this is great. But if an artist is able to be clear about what it is they're attempting to do and how successful they think they have been with that, or to talk about the struggle to make it better, gosh, that's much more engaging than talking in generalities. When my students were forbidden to describe something as nice or interesting, it's like, no, man, work a little harder.
Jumping over to the collecting idea again, kind of quickly, obviously, your instincts and your hunches and your loves, let's call it that, served you well. But, after your first 100 photos, I mean, at least, right? When do you start considering other aspects of it in terms of, the financial sides of it? What you think is a good investment? What is so rare that it, you just kind of want to have it? Does that ever come into play? And how and when and where?
The investment part never came into play. It was, I was all about the action. You want to, I'm sure there are many sexual metaphors available to us here, but I'm not going to pursue any of them. You want the sensation. I want the sensation. I don't want to talk about it. I want let me do it. I will say this, that I did reach a point where I would say, they've got all these landscape photographs. Maybe you should look at those. Maybe that would open your horizons. Bad joke, but
right.
I did, I got the books out and started looking, and then I realized that there were the center of the collecting, of all my collecting, has this existential search. And so I found these incredibly cool photographs of people in the middle of the landscape. You can't say the eye thing is not really a factor. The isolation is a factor. The singleness is a factor. The there's a great picture that I do not own. The one that got away is a photograph by a Canadian photographer named Humphrey Hime, Hime. And it's this gorgeous little 19th century photograph of a prairie. And the horizon bisects the frame perfectly, like a Hiroshi Sugimoto photograph. But then in the foreground, there is this there's a skull. Geez, maybe it's a human skull. It's a human skull that's not really looking dead on at the photographer, but is a little at an angle. And this photograph is so contemporary, so modern in its spareness and balance. It has all these great things going for it. And it was a picture that was too expensive for me. Mm-hmm. But it was obsessed with it. I'm still obsessed with it. I, for years, had postcards of it. And the postcards were really hard to find because the dealer who handled it, Hans Kraus, had published the postcards, and I was forever sort of badgering him to give me some more postcards so I could. It was like putting the picture on your refrigerator. Is it in the collection? Emotionally, it's in the collection. I just didn't own an original print of it.
Right. And is this something that you seek out? And is it that deep into you that you're going to look to find it in another capacity or spend that money, or you just give it up and no?
I've worked through all that. I'm all better now. No. That's a serious thing. I really believe in the whole therapeutic element of collecting. That should you buy my book, The Unseen Eye Photographs of the Unconscious, you would find that the through line on it is that it's me getting a sense of self-esteem through collecting, that somehow this took me through the world and I came out the other side in better shape. So there's a story that there's the last picture in that collection, in effect, that one day I'm at the Metropolitan Museum, summertime, and there's this dead-ass stupid show in the contemporary wing. And I'm looking at this show and I go like, this sucks. This is just so stupid. And then I come upon this photograph by Bill Brandt. It's Dubuffet's eye, his right eye. And it's wide open, this eye. So from the guy who's been looking at pictures of closed eyes for 25 years at that point. And I had the Shazam experience. There's an art news quote that I gave. I like sound bites. And I gave them a quote years ago that says, collecting is like running around in a thunderstorm, praying that you will be hit by lightning. So I see this picture and I go like, oh my God, this is fabulous, fantastic. And I was all by myself, and all I wanted to do was grab somebody and say, like, look at this picture. This is great. There's another quote that I gave early on that this is a little offensive, but stick with me. It's a little scatological.
It's just us. Don't worry about that. It's just the four of us. It's okay.
Okay. So you want a picture so good it makes you fart lightning. So that's what I described this the other day as. It's like whatever the opposite of being. It's like you're completely adrenalized. Yeah. It's just like, oh my God, stuff is like pouring out of the apertures in your body. It's like sweating without moisture.
So taking that idea, let's take it the next step now. You talk about the charge you get from collecting and the joy you get from looking at the items you own. And I get that. I have my own little collections, and not everything's out on display. Some things are carefully packed. And yes, I open up the boxes, whatever, and I pick them up, and yeah, I get this rush all over again. At some point, though, and again, you're about to do this. You take a good chunk of this collection, these items that you have spent years passionately building upon, to a collection that is rather unique, that represents something very, very, very special. And at some point, you said, it's now time for me to let it go. Is it equally satisfying getting to the point where you said, it's been mine, I've owned it, I'm okay with it, and now I'm going to just let it move on in time? Are you okay with that? Is it the same satisfaction or level? I know it's not the same status, but do you get the same juice out of that?
No, it's a different juice. But I've come a long way in this, and I don't need them anymore. I don't want them anymore. I really went through this problem the last several years that stuff started falling on my head. And you go like, collectors are caretakers. It's yours for a period of time. Then you got to move it on. Let other people have the pleasure. Knock yourselves out, folks. Have a good time. I had a really good time. I am surprised at how cool I'm being about this thing. That the part that's, I don't think I'm excited. A part of that I appreciate is that I'm going to give a bunch of pictures away, and I'm going to try to help a lot of artist friends who aren't in museums. I'm going to try to persuade museums to take these donations. You know, the idea that the Met is sitting there outside waiting for you to drop off all these pictures, that's not the case. Donations are hard to manage. So this is a project, and I'll do it, and I will try to do some imaginative placings, and I'm going to sell some more of the pictures. This is Bill's 3-year plan to get rid of is not the right word, to deaccession, to
disperse
the collections, give them new life. Hope these puppies get picked up by people. And,
does it bother you that this collection, which is, again, it's unique, is being broken up? Or is that not really a factor to you?
I don't like that part. That part's sad. But I couldn't make it happen. I couldn't find the karma of me and it. It would have been great for like a middle level university that wanted to have a photography collection in their museum. This would have been a really good collection. This was a really good starter set because we got some name brand stuff. We got some stuff that's not. We got lots of vernacular. It really looks at the entirety of photography. And there's vintage stuff. There's contemporary stuff. There's nobody got it. You know, I would mention it and that's always been disappointing. The kind of astonishing lack of interest from institutions. I'm very critical of how institutions behave. That I was a dealer for 15 years in New York, and the idea that the Museum of Modern Art was going to come into my gallery and look at an exhibition of work that had Gene Richards, the best documentary photographer working in the United States. He's it. He's the real deal. I got a Gene Richards show up. I can't get him to come see it. And I'm devastated for Gene because he's so good, just a great artist. And for me not to be able to get a major institution to come in and see what he was up to was so, I felt it makes me angry. I was disappointed. And as much as anything, I didn't get it. How can you? I figure it's their job to look. And from So, didn't we just touch a little nerve ending there? Relationships with institutions are complicated, and I have some wonderful friendships with curators, and we'll see how this goes. See, the collection that we're not talking about here, which is this collection of American groups before 1950. So many of these photographs don't have famous makers. They're either unattributed or it's some press agency, or I just don't know who did it. Or you get studios like the Pak brothers, and you find these. There's a guy named E.J. Kelty who was the most thrilling show business photographer, a theatrical photographer. He did these pictures of the circus that are American classics. And he did a series called Congress of Clowns, Congress of Freaks. These are like so delicious and weird and American and well made. Banquet style camera. I mean, this guy's not fooling around. He's a pro. And so I've amassed this this collection compared with the collection. It's a very right brain, left brain relationship. But trying to persuade institutions that they should widen their looking a little more to bring this kind of material in. This is going to be uphill, hard to do, because they're not looking. They're not looking at all of it.
And with the collection, with the Unseen Eye, was Christie's kind of had they been asking for a while to auction this? Was it the last place that you wanted to?
No, nobody asked. So I decided not to do it. I approached Christie's and I approached Sotheby's.
Okay, but prior you had approached institutions and you thought you or at least you had the hope to keep it together and get it into one location. And so this was kind of I want to say a secondary idea, but it was, as you went down the list of places you'd like the collection to go to, this was down a step or two?
The conversation never happened. So it's a step forward. It's not a step back. It's just a different step. And I recognize what's going on, so trying to have some fun with it. So I have one of the things that's happened in this recent period of time is these pictures that went to Christie's. I started writing about them and trying to revisit my feelings about them. And one of the things that's been really joyful for me has been I was looking at there's a really, really strange little 19th century picture that's for sale at Christie's by the Alinari brothers, who were 19th century Italian family studio, the oldest photography studio in Italy, in Florence. And there is this picture that I saw at Paris Photo. And there's a thing that happens as a collector if you're really cooking. The pictures find you. You just, it's like a Geiger counter. You walk into a room and you go like, tick, tick, tick. And you go, where? And so I'm at Paris Photo and talking to some people, and there's this thing like blinding me across the room. This thing is like beeping at me. And I'm talking to people and I go like, hang on here, I'll be back in a minute. And so I go across the room, and there's this little carte de visite of a tightrope walker on a like slack wire. And he's holding a pole, and he has like a big canvas sack over his head. So he's blindfolded and on a tightrope. And I look at this picture and I go like, oh my God. So we are we are farting lightning and people are getting out of the way because I'm having an experience. And they're trying to be a little cool. I was so uncool in this that I misunderstood the price. And I was off by a decimal.
Oh, geez.
I committed to it, and then I went home, and I was with a friend from California, and he said, did you understand what the price of that actually was? And I went like, no, because I thought it was like $300, and it was $3,000. And he says, the funniest thing, he says, you are such an asshole. I knew you were going to buy it no matter how much it cost. And it was so true. So I'm looking at this picture the other day and I'm going like, oh my God, this is so good. Because in the photograph, this is the cosmic riddle. We're all like standing on a tightrope, just hoping we don't fall to our deaths, but we can't see anything. And how amazing. So this is a picture that was a show business picture. This is like a calling card for some tightrope walker. And for me, looking at it in 2020, you go like, no, this is a major, major life statement. So I've had that experience going back to the collection, looking at pictures and go, yep, this still talks to me.
There's a Helen Levitt photo that's part of the collection that's going to be auctioned. And I checked out the preview on the Christies site, and it looked like that photo was owned by, at one point, Walker Evans, and then later was owned by Harry Lunn, who's a well-known, or was a well-known photo dealer. Does the provenance of a photo or the hands that it went through make any difference to you? And does it interest you? And does it increase the value of a photo?
It probably does increase the value of the photo for someone who's shopping. For me, so I do love the idea that Harry and Walker Evans and all had their hands on this. That's I like that. Harry Lunn. There are. I knew Harry pretty well.
He was a CIA guy, right? I mean, is that not true? Or
I adored Harry, and he was the most problematical, monstrous person to people. I'm still friendly with his kids, and I'm always I don't want to offend them or their memory of him, but he was a real piece of work, and they know that.
They must know that, yeah.
And once upon a time, so Harry liked me because I could play bridge and I could drink. And he liked to do both those things. Plus he loved gossip. And there's never any gossip in photography, which has always been mystifying to me. There really is never any decent gossip in photography.
You obviously don't listen to the show all the time because we have a whole gossip segment at the end of each podcast.
No, you don't.
Yeah, we make up stuff about people. No.
Okay, so anyway, so Harry, I go to visit Harry, and he's got this spirit album on his table. So a spirit album, these are 19th century Victorian photographs of spirits, of ghosts. Mm-hmm. And so I go, oh, look at what you've got here. And he goes, yeah, I just bought that. So take a look, Hunster. And he goes off to the bathroom, and I'm there with this book, and I'm like any good photo person, I fan it from the back because suddenly, everybody's reading in Hebrew when they look at a photo
right,
book.
Totally.
And I'm fanning it from the back, and this photograph blows out onto the floor. And it's a great picture because it's a great accident. It's a portrait of a person, but there's a keyhole aura of light shining, obscuring the face of the person in the portrait. So it's a light leak, maybe, accident, and it is, for me, off the charts meaningful. this is a picture that for me is great. It has for anybody else, it's just not going to be as cool as it is for me. So I picked the picture off the floor, and I'm looking at it, and I go like, "Oh my God, what to do?" He doesn't know this picture exists. He hasn't looked at this album. He just bought it, but he didn't look at it. And I'm thinking, what do you do? Just like tell him you found it and saw it and ask how much it is? Do you just put it in your coat pocket and hidey-ho out of here? That was the range of available behaviors. So he comes out of the bathroom, and I go, "Hey, Harry, look at this. This is great." And in his typical dealer fashion, he would go like, yeah, that's the best, isn't it? And I go like, "You haven't even seen this picture." And he says, "Take it." And I go, take it. What does that mean? Take it. It's a gift. Take it. I'll send you an invoice for I don't know how much later on. Take it. We'll talk about how much it is. So I took it, and he died about 3 weeks later on. And so I contacted the kids and said, "He gave me this picture, and if you want me to pay for it, I'll pay for it." But they said, "No, he wanted you to have it." So that has provenance. That is not going to mean anything to anybody else, but it means a lot to me. And
It's a good story.
So, yeah, and I got to show it in an exhibition once and half tell the story. But Harry was a very important guy in the history of buying and selling photographs. He started APAD, he started Perry Photo, he advocated for any Walker Evans, my God. He editioned Ansel Adams. He he found the underwriting to Ansel Adams to do the editioning of Ansel Adams. He was a seminal guy.
Yeah.
And boy, was he a character. He made people he terrified people. It was great to watch, just so you weren't on the receiving end of it.
What are some of the highlights in your opinion anyway in the collection, and what are you what are you hoping for? What are some of the highlights in your mind, and what are you keeping your eye on specifically?
I'm hoping that the stock market doesn't crash next week. So that's I've always maintained that being a collector, that it could be my annuity, that this would be the 401k that does not exist in my life. So I hope that people have permission from their moms to buy deep.
It's long term. You have to keep it's long term investment.
Yeah,
but it was never intended that way.
What photos are you really keeping your eye on to see who may pick them up, and not necessarily even what they go for, but whose hands they're going to fall into, and are there any 2 or 3 photos that you're going to specifically be keeping your eye on?
I'm going to look at all of them. I don't know that I'll really pursue who. I will say to like a friend of mine said the other day, he wanted to buy one of the vernacular curiosities in the sale. And I said, don't. I'll find something and I'll give it to you and it'll be meaningful. But maybe Christies is listening to this. I don't know if I want to know who bought anything. And I can't get invested in that because it'll be complicating and it'll be water over the bridge, under the bridge, past the bridge. So better to look forward to, I can still write about these pictures and respond to them and draw down on the intent connected to them.
Yeah.
So,
and do you try to get, you were talking earlier about institutions and speaking to people, and have you spoken to people to say, hey, this particular photo is at Christie's, it would be good for your collection, and I'd really like to see it go to that collection? Do you work behind the scenes like that at all?
I have not.
No. Okay.
Part of it is because I don't know that I could make the marriages. I don't know what should go to anybody. I can make the marriages with the stuff that's not in the sale. Institutions I don't think buy at auction so much because they don't have the money. They're not able to do the turnaround on spending a lot of money on something. I'll tell you what the secret picture is in the sale. There's a picture in the sale that I found at auction, and it's a portrait of Irving Penn, a self-portrait. And when I saw it at an auction house, I went, "That's Irving Penn." And I don't know how I knew it was Irving Penn because I don't think I'd ever seen a picture of it. And it was done in, how Penn works in these different portfolios so that you don't see the street trash until it's fully realized and printed, and you've discovered that he made the images 10 years before, but he's been printing them slowly. And anyway, so it's the self-portrait, and half of his face is out of focus and half of it's in register, and it's killer. I look at this thing and I go like, oh my God, this is, I have no idea what I paid for it, but I absolutely was going to have it. And I think any institution that has any sense of Penn absolutely should have that picture. So that's a good one. And people won't see it right away. It's a little. You'll see the Eggleston. There's a great Eggleston. It's bright red. You can't miss it. But the Penn is a little more discreet, and it's in your eye in a different way. It's smaller emotionally, and so that's one that I think is so special, and that's one that occurs to me. I was looking through stuff this morning, and I found a quote that I don't use very much, but I like it, and I'm going to pass it on to you. And it's a Walter Benjamin or Walter Benjamin, if we're doing that. One of the most intimate relationships that can be established with objects is that of possession. I think, that's so good. You just, you want a picture that you just want to dance around the room with. I can remember the picture I talked about, the Humphrey Heim picture, that I can remember the sale, that the APAT show that it was. And we took it off the wall, and I started walking around the room with it because I wanted to be that close to it. It was like that. The best question ever asked about collecting, I had a little show at my former boarding school from when I was 17. I did a little show at the Lawrenceville School, and some kid said, "Why do you have to own them?" And man, that just stopped me. And I said, it took me a moment to catch my breath, and I went, well, then they're mine. And I went, you are a greedy. You are so greedy. But it was this covetousness of like having it at home and it's mine. I like talking about photographs, and I like when people are turned on by photographs, and anything I can do to heat that up, I'm all on board with that. That's fun for me. I really do like teaching and talking about photography. And to go back to the beginning, photography changed my life. It gave me one. And part of the gift was the engagement that photographs have offered me.
Obviously, there's no shortage of stories here. We can go on for the rest of the day.
I'll be back. When I start working on the second collection, I'll be calling you and say like, "Oh, I've got all new stories."
Oh, and trust me, we're going to be there to record, and we want to do all that. In the meantime, we're recording this episode before the auction actually occurs, and it's going to be going live just after the auction. There's going to probably be a lot of interesting stories that go on with that. And Bill, we really kind of hope that you're going to be back to fill us in on the details and give us some more stories about things that happened during this auction, which I'm sure is going to be pretty exciting and interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It's a funny thing because the whole thing's online.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to be in the room and the excitement of two people battling it out. They've had success with these online auctions, and they're structured in a way that the auction stays open until the bidding's done, so that they give people time to respond. And if there's some activity on a particular lot, they won't close down the auction until they're really satisfied that the interest is ended.
So if people want to see more of your collection and things that you're up to, websites, Instagram, where can people go? And we'll have all of this repeated in our show notes, but where can people go?
So my Instagram account is the groups. I just post pictures of American groups. I'm trying to unveil a new Instagram account, which will be called Some Really Good Ones, which will be me presenting photographs that I think are great with some accompanying, like 2,000 word, some text. So there's that. Facebook, which is WM Hunt DBear, I use only professionally. So if I've done something, or if I'm teaching something, or I was reading some texts, I post stuff there. On my website, it's all things I've written, and I guess some press. But mostly it was a place to archive monograph essays or reviews I've written about exhibitions.
And that's WMHunt.com.
That's my social media presence.
All right.
Okay, that's great.
And it's an old dog slowly performing some new tricks.
Bill, absolute pleasure talking with you, and we look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you.
If you'd like to get a heads up the moment a new B&H Photography podcast goes live, it is easy. Simply head on over to wherever you get your podcast fix, type B&H Photography Podcast into the search field, and boom, you are part of the family. You can also find us on the B&H Explorer website and on the B&H Photography Podcast Facebook group. All that said, my name is Alan Weitz, and on behalf of John Harris and Jason Tables, thank you so much for tuning in today.